Me too.
Well,
Thank you so much. I'm
you're
delighted.
most welcome, because what V and I decided was, this used to be under the umbrella of a company called Noble Goldman. It was a big vision that sort of over time began to deteriorate a little bit. And so we decided, oh, we're just going to do this on our own. Every Tuesday night, we're just going to catch up. It's not going to be under any umbrella. We can invite as many people as we want. And I kept thinking, in time, we do want to grow this. So people who feel like they need spiritual support will have some place to go. It'll always be free. And we just go through the course. I've studied the course for a long time. It doesn't mean I'm an expert at it, for sure. I'm sure there's things I'm misinterpreting, but I give it my best go. And then V's been doing the course for a while, and she does the daily lessons, which are daily meditations that are in the back of the Course in Miracles. So we just all dive in and see what we get from it, and we all add our 2 cents if we choose to do that. And say, this is kind of what I'm getting from it, because the course says the same truth over and over and over again, but in different ways to appeal to the different intellects that are out there. So it's almost meant to unravel the mind and our ego by even reading it, because sometimes you'll read it and go, I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, like zero idea. And then you read it again, you go, oh, okay, I'm beginning to piece it together. And 3 more paragraphs down, it'll say the exact same thing, but in a completely different way, much more simplistic. So it's very, very interesting. It could not have been written by a regular left brain kind of author. This is definitely a channeled work. And as we get into it more, you can see that whoever wrote this, well, it was a woman who channeled it. And it just is not, it's just not done by a person with an ego. It's a spectacular writing. I don't know if you guys know the history of the course, but I'll just tell you really briefly. There was a woman named Helen and Bill Thetford. Well, Helen, I can't remember her last name, but she was the trans channel for this. And I knew Bill Thetford. He was a mentor of mine. And so Bill ran this hospital, and Helen was a psychiatrist in this hospital. And they both made a commitment, because they felt like the whole place was so dysfunctional, that they made a commitment to try to find a better way. But what occurred was that over about maybe a month and a half, Helen started showing up in Bill's office saying, I think I'm going insane. And he goes, well, what are you talking about? She says, I get up in the middle of the night. I have this voice in my head. I can't get it out of my head. It tells me to write, and I just write. She says, I just do automatic writing. I don't even know what I'm writing. I don't believe what I'm writing, but I'm just writing and I can't stop it. And so he asked to see some of it, and she presented it to him, and he read it and said, oh my God, you have to keep writing. This is like profound. And so she did, and a book about that thick and about 10-point font emerged 3 years later. And that is the Course in Miracles.
When was that, Gary? When did that happen?
I think it was back in I think it was either the 70s or the very early 80s that this occurred.
70s, I think
so,
it was 1974 or something.
Yeah. So this is what we used when I began the Holistic AIDS Response Program, when we were working with people that were going to be dead in 3 months. They were all wounded by Christianity because all the churches rejected all the people with AIDS. So we gathered everybody together in a room, and we read the Course in Miracles, because this is the judgeless, non-condemning, mystical teachings of Christ. It is, in my opinion, if Jesus did live, which I believe he did, this is how he would depict himself and how he would sound. So just kind of, we'll dive in.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it is. So
I
V,
didn't
give us our numbers, because we generally do numbers.
Okay, so Gary, since we both know it first, so we'll start first. So Gary, then me, and then Casey, and then Victoria, and we'll just read one paragraph and dissect it a little bit before we move on.
Cool.
And we left it at 49. So should we start on 50?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've been reading about miracles, and let me define miracles as we've understood it at this point, at this level of consciousness. Miracles in the Course of Miracles means that whenever I can enter a state of oneness, like I can look into another person's eyes and see God and choose to be there, choose to not see the differences, choose to see something other than our wants from that person, our needs from that person, but just see the soul of that person, that becomes like a holy instant and a miracle. So the Course always says that the only way to escape suffering is to perceive through the eyes of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is not like that innocuous thing that the evangelical Christians talk about. It's actually the Holy Spirit is the moment that you are again looking out of the eyes of oneness and not out of division, not out of ego, not out of separateness, not looking at the body, but looking at the soul only.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at least that's what I have understood. V, do you want to add anything to that?
No, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at 50, is that right, V?
Yes.
Okay. The miracle compares what you have made with creation, accepting what it is in accord with it as true, and rejecting what is out of accord as false. Okay. My brain's a little soft right now, V. Do you get anything from this? Or does anybody else get anything from that? I mean, it's saying fundamentally the same thing, but what's your input, V?
Well, because I always think of God or source or whatever it is just accepting whatever we say and just saying yes. So if you're thinking about poverty, then it just goes yes. And if you thinking about heartbreak, then it just says yes, that's what you can have. So for me, this is a little bit different though. The miracles compare what you have made with creation. So what we think we create, and whatever we create is true. But also with what I'm doing with the lessons are very much about whatever we're thinking is false. It's almost all our thoughts are false unless we are in that space where we're connected to source, where we're connected to God, where we're coming from our heart and actually feeling it. So it's trying to identify what's true and false is the challenge.
Yeah, the miracle compares what you have made with creation. So the focus of the mind creates. So you make it through the whole natural process of whatever we focus on, we create more of. So the miracle compares what you have made with creation, accepting what is in accord with it as true. So what is in accord with that focus, with that sense of oneness, and rejecting what is out of accord as false. So what would be out of accord would be that separated mind. I believe that's what it's saying. Does anyone have anything they want to say about this? Because there are times that we get it spot on. There are times we're like, oh, but because it's the way it's worded. Victoria, go for it.
So not at the first read, but maybe the second read, I must say, I think I hear what you heard. And what it made me think about is, I don't know if you guys have listened or heard, but Abraham Hicks, And like she talks about, vortex, and, like when you create, and it is, whatever feels congruent, like you feel like it feels good, then do it. You don't feel good, don't do it. And that's what I think what you have made with creation is whatever vibration you created, whatever thoughts you created, which is what you said, Gary, and that's what you continue to focus on. That's what you accept as truth, and that's what you create. And everything that is out of alignment, that's what she calls it, with alignment, out of alignment. And whatever is out of alignment, and here they say out of accord, which is kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
That's why I think it made me think that. So out of accord, out of alignment is not your truth. It doesn't mean it's not truth. It's not your truth. So you have not made that with creation. So you are following whatever you created, which is your vibration, your alignment with your thoughts. And that's what you, Gary, said, whatever you focus on, you create more of.
I got a little bit more clarity because it says the miracle, which is a state of oneness, which is you seeing through the eyes of your own soul. The miracle compares what you have made with creation, meaning your thoughts, your focus, accepting what is, meaning what gets created out of that state, in accord with it as true. So it would be more of that, and rejecting what is out of accord, which would be the separated mind, as false. Because in the Course in Miracles, there's nothing that is actually separate. There is just this ocean of the same lights that constitute all of our souls in this infinite ocean of consciousness. So it's starting to get a little bit clearer for me. Casey, are you following this at all? Are you saying, yeah, that could be Gary, or no, that's not, he's crazy? Or is there anything coming up for you with this?
Yeah, I agree with all of you. And also in the point of accepting what is in accord with it as true and rejecting what is out of accord as false, to me also kind of signals create an individual creating stories within your mind, and whether that story is true, that's what you might believe is true. It's almost like you taught me this, Gary, like the drama triangle. Like you're creating a story with a person that might be true in your mind, but it's never happened, type of thing. Or you're creating a positive situation that maybe hasn't happened yet, that you will it to happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. And I think, this is why I love having a group on these calls, because we're all going to get something a little bit different, and all of it has value. And it has, it adds another dimension or another facet to the diamond. So I'm really grateful that you guys showed up. V, you want to give it a go on the next one?
Yes, I'll just, I'm having a bit of a play with Kindle so we can try and get everything on the one page when we're reading it. There we go. Oh, that's a big one. I got a big one. Look at that. Whole page. Right.
Okay.
We're starting Revelation, Time and Miracles. Revelation induces complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear. It reflects the original form of communication between God and his creations, involving the extremely personal sense of creation sometimes sought in physical relationships. Physical closeness cannot achieve it. Miracles, however, are genuinely interpersonal and result in true closeness to others. Revelation unites you directly with God. Miracles unite you directly with your brother. Neither emanates from consciousness, but both are experienced there. Consciousness is the state that induces action, though it does not inspire it. You are free to believe what you choose, and what you do attests to what you believe. I just had a bird hit the window. Poor thing.
You want to read that last line again?
You are free to believe what you choose, and what you do attests to what you believe.
That is a beautiful, beautiful paragraph.
Yeah.
I
feel like I have to read it like 7 times.
do. I have to read it too, because it was so incredible. Let's all read it again and see if we pull out anything from it.
Do you want me to read it, or we're
You
going to
know
read
what?
it?
Let's do it line by line. I think that would be really
Yeah.
useful. V, you want to do the first line?
Yeah. So revelation induces complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear.
So that just means it reflects the original form of communication of its creation. So that means when I'm assuming that revelation is when you feel one with when you feel one with God. That then temporarily suspends doubt and fear, because we can't make it constant because our mind's like spinning all the time. But in a moment, which eventually the Course will call it the holy instant, that's when we can temporarily suspend doubt and fear. I think what's important here for me is that the only time that my mind rests is in meditation, when I can sometimes, not always, get to that place where I feel that oneness. Sometimes when I'm in the Force, I can feel that oneness with more of the creation. I went out yesterday and I left spirit plates in the forest, which is I take a bag of nuts and I walk out into the forest, and wherever I feel compelled to, I leave little handfuls of nuts and coconut and seeds for like all the little furry creatures that live in the forest, like the little chipmunks and the squirrels and the rabbits and all those, and the rats and the mice and all that. And I just walk through the forest and like I bless all the creatures there. I ask for safety for them, and I walk through the forest. And what that does for you is, in that just that one little act of kindness, you start feeling one with creation. You stop feeling like I'm a human being and every other species is lesser than me, which is nonsense. You know, I'm a human being, and every one of these creatures have families, they have their language, they have their culture, whatever that culture is, and they have their purpose. And so what that act does is it gives you a state of oneness. When we start looking at, it's probably because I had a reading with a medical intuitive, and he was like, Gary, you are slowly bleeding out your energy, and if you don't contain it, it's not going to be good for you. And I'm like, and for some reason when I was talking to him, I felt like literally I was just like had nothing left. And so he said, you need to see a Native American healer. And I said, what I really need to do is I need to go to the forest and do my own healing in that tradition. So that's what I've started to do, and it has it's uplifted me. So at times, just on a side note, if you guys ever feel like, you're so disconnected, find a place in nature, take some seeds, and just honor all the creatures that like live there, or whatever you would feed. If it's by the ocean, feed fish, but to just honor life and all the lives that are around us that wouldn't have access. Because I kept thinking, oh man, some little mouse is going to come along and go, oh my God, there's huge walnuts and almonds, and there's coconut. Who's ever tasted coconut in the forest? So I kept thinking, I'm going to create some real joy and some hearts, But I do think that when we have that revelation, when we can experience something in action that we can do to kind of give us that sense of oneness, even if it's for a moment, it elevates us to a point to where our bodies start to feel alive again. Because I think as we continue this sort of, cancel clear, as we walk down our roads and feel separate, it depletes our energy day after day after day, especially if we don't open ourselves and we don't feed ourselves. Like V, you live in like a gorgeous, bloody part of Australia. It is like, if I was to die and go to heaven, I would move to Nannup. You know, it is gorgeous there. And Casey, you live in, you know, beautiful Colorado, where the mountains and the forests are, you know, I know you'll probably live in a subdivision, but I know that the forests and all that are pretty close. Is
Yeah.
that true?
Yeah, I mean, 5 minutes away is like this massive open space where there's deer. In our backyard, there's deer, and there were 100 elk down the street the other day. And yeah, the
Oh,
mountains are probably 15 miles away.
any bull elks?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, there were literally like 100 in a pack, and it was crazy. And they were like literally a mile from my house.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
so incredible.
It was really
Um,
cool. Yeah.
And Victoria, you're probably, I don't know what's around you, but even if it's a park or something like that, get in nature, go to the ocean, do something.
I have lots of beautiful places around.
Oh, good, good, good.
Not
Okay,
many,
so
not much of a forest, but definitely lots of places where you can feed creatures, you know.
good, good. I think that, you know, being who we are as human beings, we need to treat I have this thought in my mind, is that every single creature, from an insect to a human being, has the exact same light of God that I do. There is no difference. It's just in a different physical form. And if I am cruel to anything, then I am cruel to God. And that thought brings me more of a sense, for just a moment, of revelation where I feel one with the Lord. So more acts for us in as far as following the Course in Miracles in action in our real time, the more we do acts like that, I think the more we give ourselves the opportunity to feel that revelation of oneness. V, you want to go to the next line?
It reflects the original form of communication between God and his creations, involving the extremely personal sense of creation sometimes sought in physical relationships.
I love that. So when it says it reflects that revelation, when we are able to suspend temporarily doubt and fear, then that is the original form of communication between God and ourselves. When that sense of doubt and fear stops and we feel that oneness. I don't feel it often, but I have felt it, and I feel it more often than I used to. But when that happens, the whole world could be exploding and I would feel okay. But I really do think that is when God speaks to us, is those sacred moments where we feel a sense of oneness. And all of us on the call has had that. And I think actually that sense of oneness is what we try to achieve in sex. And sometimes you could get there where you're the other person, you feel like they feel like you're part of your body. I know Robert and I hang out. We're not all that sexual anymore, but we'll just be driving down the street and all of a sudden I'll look over and he'll have tears rolling down his face. And I say, "What are you crying about?" And he goes, "Because I feel so much love for you. You feel like you're like my arm or my leg or part of my body." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And we get those moments of that sense of oneness together. And it is, I know that is what we attempt to find in our relationships, in the physical relationships, is the ability to feel that kind of oneness.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone want to comment on that one line in the Course?
I actually felt that sometimes with dance as well, when you're just moving with someone and it's not a performance, it's not about anybody that's watching, it's just a connection between two people and the music. So sometimes that's quite beautiful too.
I forgot that you tango, right?
Tango, salsa, bachata, kizomba, all that stuff. Yeah.
Awesome.
I used to,
Good.
but yeah.
So your man doesn't tango?
No, I haven't danced for quite some time. I injured my shoulder trying to lead. Women are quite heavy when they're learning, and I hurt my shoulder.
You gotta get him to a tango studio and teach him.
I think he's keen.
He should
He's
be.
keen for anything.
That's
Just
really
yes to
good.
anything. It's great.
That's good. Okay, next line.
Physical closeness cannot achieve it. You want to keep going, or
Yeah, keep going because we know that.
miracles, however, are genuinely interpersonal and result in true closeness to others.
So I think that's, for me, that what it's saying is kind of like what we've been talking about. Carolee's coming on. What we've been talking about is, hey, Carolee.
Class, I'll be right back. Keep
Okay.
talking. I'll be right back.
Okay, no worries. We have our Kiwi representative. Oh, Victoria, I always tell everybody this, Carolee, when they don't know you. She worked on the set of The Lord of the Rings, and she sewed Legolas's outfit for The Lord of the Rings.
Guys,
Wow.
I'm so sorry to cut you off. I think my aunt might have just done something to herself. So my mom is freaking out. So I have to get off really fast, but I'll send you guys an email. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay, darling. That's okay.
Okay, sorry. My aunt has
No.
some drug
Share the
issues, and my mom just said she did them.
Darling, we see miracle. We see miracle in you.
sorry.
Don't you worry.
Thank you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, bye, Casey.
What?
Tag team.
Casey has a very what's the word? She has a lot of people around her and family and responsibility. So this is a miracle that she could show up tonight, even if it was just for a little bit. So let's see, physical closeness cannot achieve it. Miracles, however, are genuinely interpersonal and result in true closeness to others. So it still goes back to the fact that when we have that revelation, we are seeing through the eyes of the Holy Spirit and the miracles. We are truly closer to another person we could ever be with just physicality. Next, Fee.
Revelation unites you directly with God. Miracles unite you directly with your brother. I think they need to go together.
Now that I find I've never heard that before. Revelation unites you directly with God. Miracles unite you directly with your brother. So it's making a distinction between the two. I have always believed that miracles were that looking through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, and that makes you more in alignment with God, but it's made a separation here, which is the first time I've read this. So does anyone have anything they want to say about those two lines?
Well, for me, the miracle is the aha moment that you are connected to God. So sometimes I think you need that reminder that you are directly. So for me, this is kind of relating all this together, because the miracle is helping us to see that we're always connected.
There's this great line in the Course in Miracles, which we'll come to at some point, where it says, you walk hand in hand into heaven with your brother and your sister. And that's the only way you get to heaven, is hand in hand. And I kept thinking, when I first read that, I thought, oh, people are too screwed up. If that's what it's dependent on to get to heaven, it's like, we'll never get there, right? But that isn't what it's saying at all. It's saying that our when we're in relationship, generally the tendency of the mind and the ego is to see separation, is to oftentimes find fault, is to feel disappointed in either behavior or what we achieve with another person. But what it's saying here is that's where you can see the greatest reflection of yourself in the dynamics of your relationships with another person. So I get that when you can evolve to the place of just seeing through the separateness and the division of the dynamics of a relationship, and you can see the soul, that is a miracle, and that creates that sort of like divine experience. And you can only have that in the mirror of your relationships. So maybe that's what it's saying there. Anybody want to say anything about what I just said? Because I don't know if what I just said is accurate or not, but did it make sense or not?
Well, that's why we bother, isn't it? Why we, spend time with other people, is to get glimpses of that.
I think so. I definitely think so. Do you have anything that you're tossing around in your head, or Victoria?
No.
That all makes sense.
For me, it's difficult to comprehend. I mean, I understand revelation unites you directly with God. That seems like very, almost like self-explanatory. Miracles unite you directly with your brother, but like why they chose to make this separation, I don't know.
I think it's because miracles unite you directly with your brother. I think it's because most people irritate us, and so that when I can bypass all of that, all my judgment, all my condemnation, all my annoyance, and I can see the light of God in that person, that is a miracle. And that generally only that dynamic tension only happens when I'm in association with another person. Whereas revelation is about almost like in nature, when I just feel like I'm one with all of creation. At least that's what I'm taking away from it.
Maybe if you read like the next sentence, maybe it will kind of tie it together,
Yeah, go
because
for it,
it
B.
seems like it's talking about those two things,
Yeah. So neither emanates from consciousness, but both are experienced there.
Okay, that makes sense. They both are experienced there. Read the next line, B.
Consciousness is the state that induces action, though it does not inspire it.
Okay. Do we have to break that down, or does that make sense to everybody? Kind of makes sense to me.
You're more enlightened.
No, I'm not. Does anyone have a question about those last two sentences? Neither emanates from consciousness, but both are experienced there. Consciousness is a state that induces action, though it does not inspire it.
Like it makes sense that it induces action, but why does it not inspire it? Seems like it might, or it could,
I think they may be using the word inspire more like a sacred inspiration. Generally, our actions are either moving towards something we desire, which would presuppose we have lack, or we're moving away from something that has caused us pain, which would also presuppose that we've got lack. So that I can kind of understand why consciousness, our experience, a consciousness state that induces action, though it does not inspire it. I think moving toward or moving away in action is not based in inspiration. It's based in either moving toward pleasure or away from pain. At least that's what I think it's saying.
I feel like it's a nice graduation from there, because it's saying that, so revelation and miracles, both of them are coming from feeling oneness, but that feeling of oneness does not emanate from our consciousness. So the feeling of oneness creates the inspiration, but it's our consciousness, once we're aware of that inspiration, that's when we take action. That's when we can take action. Before that, it's just a state of being that we haven't done anything with.
Oh, I like that. I like that interpretation, B.
Can you say it again, B, please?
Can I say it again? So when I'm reading this, and the miracles and the revelation, okay, they've been separated, but they both come from a feeling of oneness when you've actually created that connection with higher source. But that connection neither emanates from consciousness. So that connection happens, and then we become conscious of it. Then we experience it. But we can be in it without, and then we need to experience it. But that doesn't create action. It's that being in that space and feeling it and then becoming conscious, then we take action. Does that help any?
Yeah, I think that's pretty close to the mark. So it doesn't, let me see, both are experiencing their consciousness state that induces action, though it does not inspire it, because it is a revelation that inspires it, and the consciousness that induces action. I think you got as close to it as we're going to get tonight, V. It'll reappear in another iteration as another couple paragraphs.
We're only just starting this section, so
I
it's
know
gonna
that's a
be
hard
whole-
section.
Yeah.
See, this is why it's so good to not read the Course in Miracles all on your own. Because if you're just to pick this puppy up and start reading it just all on your own, it is a very difficult read. How about the next one?
You are free to believe what you choose, and what you do attests to what you believe.
To me, that's like the only clear sentence in the whole paragraph.
It's true. Because we are free to choose, and whatever we choose, we live the consequences of them.
Well, and also what we do is clear manifestation of what we believe, right? Like
Absolutely.
our actions speak, what we think, believe,
Yeah. Sweet.
And I do think that, like, I think we found this with the first section as well. It was quite difficult going initially, but as you said, Gary, each paragraph is just reinstating what we've already read, so it helps to it'll become clearer as we go, I think.
Absolutely.
Shall we go?
I'm
to the
really
next
good
page?
with saying, I'm really good with getting to a paragraph and go, I just have no idea what they're talking about here. Let's just go on. Maybe they'll say it another way that I can wrap my head around it.
All right. So I think, Victoria, you're next. Would you like to read this paragraph?
Yeah, I can read. Revelation is intensely personal and cannot be meaningfully translated. That is why any attempt to describe it in words is impossible. Do you want me to read the whole paragraph first? Like the whole
Yeah, and then
thing?
we'll break it down sentence by sentence.
Revelation induces only experience. Miracles, on the other hand, induce action. They're more useful now because of their interpersonal nature. In this phase of learning, working miracles is important because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. Revelation is literally unspeakable because it is an experience of unspeakable love.
Wow.
The last sentence is beautiful.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I remember in India, when I was there, someone asked the master, what is it like in the inner realms? And he said, it is beyond comprehension, the love and the beauty that's there. And then someone asked him, what is it like when a soul descends from the spiritual realms into the physical? And he said, it's like diving headfirst into a cesspool. And I was like, pretty picture. Because of the distinction between the physical realm and the spiritual realms are so stark that we can't even describe the spiritual realms in the state of consciousness we're in. This in this particular yogic discipline, they say that this is a sacred form. Our physical bodies, the human body is the form that this line of masters say is the most coveted and most special physical form in all of creation. Maharaji used to say that the god Brahman, the god that all the Hindus worship, pines for the moment that it can have a physical form, because only in this form can we make the greatest level of spiritual progress. I've said this before, but our chakra system, the 5 chakras up to this point anyways, is really the 5 levels of creation in the entire creation. So we have, our very grounded root chakra, our Dandian, our power center, we have our heart center, we have our throat center, we have the third eye. And in this particular yogic tradition, there is a name for God at every single level of creation. So there's 5 separate names for the names of God. And it honors it honors God's manifestation at every single level of consciousness throughout creation. So, and he would say it's unspeakable. You can't give language to it. But that's where we're all heading, you guys. I think when we wake up out of this experience of being in our bodies, we literally, it will be like waking up out of a dream where we remember who we've always been, and we will rejoice. Oh. Do we want to break this down? Or is it pretty and we want to break it down? Okay.
Just the revelation induces only experience. Miracles, on the other hand, induce action. I think that kind of lines up with the previous section or the previous paragraph with the separation between miracles and revelation.
Yeah. It's almost like miracles are done in a relationship to others, which then would produce action. Whereas revelation, it is just you and God.
Which comes back to what you always say, Gary, is that our temple is our relationships and our communication with others, because that's where we find out who we are showing up to be.
Yeah, that ties right in, doesn't it, V?
Absolutely.
Huh. And it also ties back to that one quote I said that, we walk hand in hand into heaven with our brothers and sisters. I mean, literally, our relationships are the true temple, and how we behave in those relationships is really our ability to see God in that other person rather than our own separate needs, our wants or desires or whatever it is. And I think when we reach that level, or cancel that, when we choose to see miracles and oneness, we actually have that miracle. And I have a neighbor who is he's very devout Christian. He's one of the most beautiful people I have ever met. I'll see him periodically and I'll go, how's your day, Kurt? And he goes, and literally he will be in joy, like abject joy. And he'll say, oh my God, Gary, I am so blessed, and mean it, like mean it. And he'll just rock up here and come up to the door and come in and have a chat and bring food or invite us over. And it's always this ocean of love and hugs and joy. And his wife's a little bit more introverted, but she's lovely and gorgeous. And I tell you, it's like living next door to a bunch of saints, because they're so tapped in that they would do anything for anyone. He once told me, just come over, Gary. You're a neighbor. I'll do anything for you. Just come over. Incredible. I mean, I've never had that before. Beautiful guy. And that's when I could get to miracles, when I'm around people like that. Sometimes I can do it on my own. Much easier with people like that.
Mm-hmm.
I love this next line. It goes, in this phase of learning, which is where we're all at, working miracles is important, because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For me anyways, that one line is super important, because where we are in the state of separation, we have to work to create the miracles. It's important because freedom from fear, because that's the only way we get freedom from fear. So for me in my mind, I think, okay, so if I'm feeling any level of fear, it's my responsibility to get to the freedom from fear through working a miracle, which is changing my consciousness on how I'm looking at something.
Mm-hmm.
Because the freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you, meaning it's just not going to come and hit you in the face. It is something that gets to be produced through the choice of perception.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I think that the more we work on miracles, the more often we get revelation. So if I'm choosing to work on that sense of oneness, the more I place myself in the capacity vibratorily to receive revelation, to feel that oneness with God.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, because I think of meditation as my way of being a better person in relationship. But maybe it's actually being a better person in relationship will allow me to meditate and connect.
I love that, V.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love that. I think it's so beautiful, because it is easier, right, to sit down and think that you are moving towards enlightenment when there is no triggers, there are no people, there is nothing around you, and you're like, oh, but then you go out in the world and there are all these people with all the imperfections, just like us, right? And yes, and if you can offer the kindness and your light to those people, that is your working miracles,
Yeah.
And I love that. That's beautiful. So I love that so much.
And I always think that when we're able to create those miracles, when we work, I love that line, working miracles. So when we're working our miracles to happen, it's almost like every time we do that, we add a jewel in the crown of our identity, because it uplifts us. I mean, I often think, what is my happiness? It is certainly not a shiny object. It's certainly not, Robert being extraordinarily nice to me, although that's lovely. It really is how I am working a miracle. I love that whole concept.
Mhm. But
Victoria,
I loved what we just said. I mean, I just love that so much because, you know, like this videos on YouTube about ultra spiritual, right? Like when people perceive themselves and it's, you know, they go to yoga, but as they drive to that yoga class, they will like flip people on the road.
give
You know
the
what I mean?
finger to people.
Yeah. And practicing yoga, just like practicing miracles, can be anywhere while in traffic and being patient and letting somebody in, you know, cutting. And if they cut you off, maybe just assume they didn't see you or they are on a rush to pick up their child from school, you know, and you
Yeah.
just like be kind and gentle to them. That is working a miracle, and not 10 minutes of meditation in the evening when all these things in the world are cast aside, you know. I love
Or
that
they
so
have to poo really bad and they have to get to a bathroom. So they're cutting in and out of traffic.
Mhm. And who knows, and 100 other different reasons why people can be, you know.
Millions
And
of different reasons.
I love that so much.
So give us the last line, Victoria.
Revelation is literally unspeakable because it is an experience of unspeakable love.
So let's recap. The more we choose to work miracles in the temple of our relationships, the more we open ourselves up to the spontaneous experience of revelation. And opening us up to that, we begin to melt away our separation, or the appearance of our separation from God, and we live more in the light of the inspiration of God.
Mhm.
That sounded very Esther Hickish, I'm telling you.
It's another quotable quote coming towards
Oh,
the
we
end of
need
the
to
hour.
edit that one out, V, because that was a good one. I've never said that before. No. This paragraph really inspired me. And you know what, V, you'll ask me 5 minutes after I've just said that, and I could not tell you about it. No, when we need this recording, capture those moments when I have a spark of clarity. Wow. I kind of think we should probably start bringing the meeting to more of a close, because if we go to the next one, we're going to go way over. And I've got a client at 8:15 tonight, which is, another 15, 20 minutes. But the thing I want to say was, for me anyways, this one paragraph was very impactful. It almost like encapsulates all the spiritual work. It brings it right down to, it's a choice to create and see oneness only. And then you create the miracle which will free you from fear. And the more you do that, the more revelation you have, the more revelation you have, the more you enter that slipstream of that God is always present. I love this. Okay, so this is, what page is this, V? Can you tell me?
98.
98?
Is it 98 of the real book or of the Kindle book?
Well, I'll check the actual book. I'll check the actual book and put it in the message stream, and let you know, Gary.
Okay.
I just bought, this is the first study for me. Like, I just bought the book. I've never been exposed to Course of Miracles. So.
It's pretty cool, isn't it, Victoria?
It's very cool. It's very, there's no way you can just sit and read by yourself and understand,
No, that's why we do it in a group, because it is, this is how I began teaching the Course in Miracles. I've gone to the Course in Miracles, I don't know how many times, probably about 9 times. But when Bill Thetford, who co-wrote the Course in Miracles, organized all of Helen's writings and put it together. He would come to the Course in Miracles group that we were teaching, because he was actually a gay man living in the same community I was, and really wanted to support those that were suffering from AIDS. So he would come to that group and just sit in the back on the floor. Everyone would be in a circle. He'd just sit in the back on the floor, as innocuous and inconspicuous as possible. And eventually someone came up to me and said, you know, the guy who co-wrote the Course in Miracles in the room, and he came up and spoke to us. And he said, I love the way you guys are teaching the Course in Miracles, because it has no stars, it has no ego, it has no authority. You're all giving your perspectives of what you interpret at the place you are in the Course, with an honest heart. And he really, really was not fond of Marianne Williamson at all, because of the authority that she began. Whether people placed it upon her, I don't know, but on the authority through her books on how she interpreted the Course in Miracles for people, which was, of course, through her own filters, not through a collection like we are doing. And Bill really thought that it was much healthier to do the Course like we're doing it, because there really shouldn't be an authority or the one person that was a spokesperson for the Course in Miracles. That begins to start looking at it more like a religion, where someone sets themselves up as the mullah or the priest or the minister to interpret Jesus to you. And he was like, it just comes straight from the inspiration and revelation of the God to you individually. And that's how we always saw it. And I would agree. I would agree.
Well, I would agree that any one person cannot, how does one person know, right? Even 4 people here, it's only thoughts and interpretations. So how can one person ever claim, you know, that that's the ultimate interpretation? There's just no such.
I really think, because I'm getting so much more out of reading the Course in Miracles this time than I ever did before. So I always want to do this, because that's just my commitment to myself, because I think it's super important for me to read this and do my very best to live it.
Gary, thank you so much for inviting me to this group. I appreciate that.
You are always welcome, Victoria. Every Tuesday night we're here. Sometimes there's more people, sometimes there's less people, but we all show up. And I think that's what's really lovely. And I have to always acknowledge V, because she's the one that put it together. And I'm really eternally grateful to V. So thank you.
Is that the same? Is it the same link to use every time, or okay.
Every time. All you got to do is just click onto it, and you'll see our bright shiny faces, and we
I love your bright shiny faces too.
And we read together,
all the way from Australia.
And we have the Kiwi, our resident Kiwi.
I don't know, where's Kiwi? Where's Kiwi? Is that New Zealand?
That's New Zealand. What city are you in?
Wellington.
You're in Wellington. So you're down south.
It's the bottom of the North Island.
Oh. I think that is the most beautiful island, is it not?
I like it, but then the whole country is pretty fabulous.
But is that where all the mountain ranges are, or is it the South Island?
The South Island has the Southern Alps, but we also have some lovely mountains here. You might even call where I live a mountain.
I really want to come to New Zealand. I've only landed in the airport, taken a shower in the airport, and caught my flight back to the United States. But I thought I need to spend some time here. I cry when I'm I'd be teaching in Perth, and a Maori person would walk into the training or the lectures, and I would start having tears falling down my face. And I don't even know why. I did this, I have to tell you, because you would love this, Carly. I had this Maori woman come and do the training, and she said, certification, actually, practitioner certification. And she said, I don't have any money. I can't pay you. And I said, don't care, you're Maori. So, you know, come and participate. And she did. And the last day, we're all in a circle and we're all, you know, saying, you know, what we got from the training and saying, you know, our blessings and stuff. She got up and began walking around the circle doing a Maori chant. It was like, it just transported everyone. Everybody just closed their eyes and she chanted around the circle about 5 times. And then she stopped behind me and she had the elder of her clan or tribe carve a whalebone necklace. She told him about me, and he carved a necklace specifically for me. And she put it around my neck and kissed me on the head and went and sat down. And I was like, that's one of my most prized possessions, is that necklace. And I don't know, there's something about the Maori people that is spectacularly gorgeous people.
Is that a tribe? What is it, Maori?
It's the indigenous people of New Zealand. But much like the Native Americans, who are phenomenally gorgeous, when the dark side envelopes them because of the inhumanity to man that they've experienced, the warrior in them comes up, or alcohol becomes their friend. So, yeah, I have a lot of respect for the Maori people, a lot of respect for Native Americans as well. So how we end our meetings is we give a word or a sentence that we would like to leave with the group, from us to the group as a representation of our energy for the week. So V, you want to start?
I am so blessed.
Carly, you want to go next?
In the words of our beautiful outgoing Prime Minister, be kind.
No, I loved her, by the way.
Same.
Victoria?
You know, I'm trying to remember that last sentence of the last paragraph we're at, and I don't remember the whole sentence, but about unspeakable connection. That's what I'm just, you know, to be in awe. And I love to be in awe. And I just call on you to be in awe as often as you can in little moments for the next week.
And mine is choose to work miracles.
That was beautiful.
And create a sense of inspiration and oneness with as many people as we choose to. And in those moments where we create multiple miracles out of our choice, we welcome in the revelation, even if it's for a moment or a second, to be one with God in the deepest place that gives the appearance of separation, the physical realm. Let's create more moments of revelation. So God bless you all. Thank you so much for showing up. And I'm off to see a client. That sounds like the Wizard of Oz. I'm off to see a client.
Thank you
And
so much.
I'll see you guys next Tuesday, okay?
Bye. Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you.
God bless you
Thank
all.
so much. Namaste. God bless you.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye-bye.